Finally for us this half hour, some relief for drivers who might have been waiting to buy a car. The average used vehicle nationwide in June was $1,200 cheaper than one a year ago. It's about a 3.5% savings. Here in the Western New York region, the drop wasn't quite as big, but still not bad. On average, used cars here are about $800 cheaper than they would have been a year ago. The cars that saw the biggest price drop in our region, the Kia Sorento, Hyundai Kona, the Kia Sportage, Kia Forte, and the Chevrolet Traverse. Joining us live right now with more on this is Karl Brauer. He is Executive Analyst with iSeeCars.com, which did this study. Karl, thanks for coming back on. It's good to see you.
Oh, always fun to be on with you guys.
I want to ask you in a moment about the Kias and Hyundais that made that list, because they're a bit unique with so many of them getting stolen. I imagine that's a factor. But first, kind of overall used car prices down across the board, not just among those brands. What's behind this?
Yeah, we're seeing some stabilization really in the market because we saw it shoot up for most of the pandemic, and then we saw it slowly dropping since really like August. And it was dropping still more aggressively toward the end of last year and the first couple months of this year. Last few months, it's only dropped about 3 to 4%. So we see it stabilizing, and we're not at the pre-pandemic levels, but we're certainly well off the highs we were at a year plus ago. And as you were saying, that's good news for people who've been waiting on the sidelines for prices to be a little less crazy. They are a little less crazy now. I think you've got everything from inflation and higher interest rates to maybe some economic concerns that are pulling back some of the demand, and supply is finally catching up on the used side.
Yeah, besides a home, I mean, a car is the biggest investment for a lot of people watching. $800 in savings certainly helps. I think a lot of people watching would wonder, all right, if I wait another year, are they going to keep going down? It seems like you're saying things are starting to stabilize, but maybe a little more savings to come first?
I would say so. I mean, what I'm telling people now is if you've been waiting, we're off the highs, and if you really need a car, it's okay to buy now. You're not going to lose a lot more money in the next year. But if you waited another 6 months, I think there are more forces suggesting the prices will drop a little more than, anything saying they'd stop dropping or even go up. I think they might continue to go down for the rest of the year.
I mentioned the Kias and Hyundais that make up a huge chunk of the list of the cars that have seen the biggest drop in price. We have to imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's related to the TikTok challenge, right? When you're talking about buying a used car, do you really want to buy one that may be targeted essentially by criminals? And then also, I mean, there are even some insurance carriers that won't cover these Kia and Hyundai vehicles. Is that what is behind the price drop there?
It would explain a lot, and certainly I think there's certain regions of the country, and these numbers that you were talking about were local to your market there. And so we didn't see necessarily Kias and Hyundais throughout the nation having this hit, but you're seeing them in certain areas. And I think how can you get away from the fact that this has been a very high profile issue for these cars over the past year?
Yeah, so we talked there about used cars. What about new cars? And is there the correlation there between, used cars getting cheaper? What does that mean for new cars?
Absolutely, yeah. And we're seeing the same thing. The two markets are closely tied together, and we're seeing finally the supply chain issues that we had throughout COVID stopping new car production being solved. New car production getting closer to normal, still not 100% by any means, but much closer to where it was pre-COVID. Thus, plenty of new cars rolling out. And again, a slowdown in demand due to inflation, interest rates. It costs more to buy the car now because you got to pay more to borrow the money that most people use to finance a new car. So these are all reducing demand to some extent on new cars.
Yeah, Karl, finally, and you touched on this a little bit there, but the supply chain problems were big factors in why cars got so expensive, and it really just kind of impacted so many parts of our lives coming out of COVID. Has that pretty much gotten better now? I mean, are the supply chains fixed in terms of the car industry?
I mean, if you were going to say that they were at their worst and how much have we come back? Are we 100%? I don't think we're 100%, but I think we're probably 85, 90%. And actually what we're seeing now is that some manufacturers are clearly reducing production on purpose, not because they can't produce them like they couldn't for a couple of years, but because they want to stop production to keep having too many cars on the lots. And certainly on the electric vehicle side, the other big news we're seeing is just electric vehicle sales prices are really dropping, and they're stacking up at dealerships. So manufacturers are starting to look at an oversupply problem potentially on some models.
Interesting stuff. Karl Brauer, Executive Analyst with iSeeCars.com. Really appreciate you taking some time for us.
Great being on with you.
All right.